Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to ACCP's CSR Marketplace virtual program, and specifically for this afternoon's session on Volunteerism Made Easy, hosted by Good 360. My name is Jean Metzger. I am ACCP's Vice President of Membership Marketing and Communications, and I'm so glad that you were able to join us today. For those of you who may be new to ACCP, the Association of Corporate Citizenship Professionals is the premier membership association working to improve the effectiveness of corporate social impact practitioners. We connect our members to the people, knowledge, and resources they need to enhance the impact they're having in their companies and in their communities. Before we get started with today's program, I want to remind everyone that this is just one of several events we are having this week as part of our CSR Marketplace virtual program. We have two more remaining this afternoon. If you'd like to join in, we encourage you to register for those sessions as well. They are all being recorded, and we will be making the recordings available to everyone who registers for the program. And we also will be posting the recordings on our website next week. ACCP is committed to providing high-quality programming that shares practical and actionable insights. In addition to this week's CSR Marketplace, we have several programs coming up, including our monthly webinars and our Impact Measurement Summit in early December. You can register for these programs on our website on the events page. We also have confirmed dates for our 2025 Forum CSR Intensive, which will be in April of 2025 in Chicago. And we have dates for our 2025 Annual Conference, which will be September 15 through 17 in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're very excited to see everyone again in person. For those who may be interested in learning more about ACCP membership, you can visit our membership page for details on benefits and pricing. And for those of you who are already members, we encourage you to share information about ACCP to your network. Member referrals are our #1 source of new members. You'll find sample language and tools and sample social posts on our Member Get a Member webpage. Now for some housekeeping about today's webcast. We've enabled transcripts and closed captioning for this webcast. You can click on live transcripts to view the subtitles. And if you click on the caret on live transcript and select view full transcript, you'll see the full transcript of the webcast. Chat is enabled for you to engage with your fellow participants as well as the panelists. So we encourage you to make comments in the chat and share your insights and react to the conversation. We also encourage you to ask questions throughout the program. Please use the Q&A feature to ask the panelists questions. And if you see a question that resonates with you, click the thumbs up button by the question to upvote it. We'll reserve time at the end for questions, but we'll be looking through them and maybe answering them along the way as they come in. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Jim Alvey of Good 360 to take it away with the program.
Great. Thank you so much, Jane. Appreciate it. We're so happy to be here today. We had a pre-session earlier this week, and we all got excited about sharing what we know and actually hearing from some of the attendees. So today's topic is volunteerism, and we're calling it the easy button. We're going to be featuring some of the programs that we think can help you to do your job a little bit easier and still make the goals that you have. I'm honored to have as my panel Diana Hicks. She's the founder and executive director of Canned Aid, and also Madison Ayache, vice president of Clean the World Events. The format we're going to have is that we're going to go at a high level for each of our organizations so you know who we are, who we're representing. Just not an in-depth dive. If you want to know more later, we'll be happy to share with you. But each of us will go through our organizations and just share a little bit about us. Good 360 is a nonprofit, 501c3. We're focused on in-kind giving. Companies donate products to us, and then we match them up with a vetted nonprofit network. We've had significant growth over the last 5 years, though we've been active for 40 years. $3 billion worth of products. These are the numbers part. 26 million lives calculated, 156 million pounds diverted from landfills. Here's how we do it. 400 corporate partners, 100,000 nonprofit partners who've registered with us since 1983, 5,000 active in any given year. We've impacted 100 million lives overall and distributed over $18 billion worth of products in that time. I won't go into detail here, but I would love to talk with you later if you want to know how we do what we do. We have an online catalog for nonprofits so they can get small volumes, full truckloads. We have managed programs that many of you may have with us to do strategic giving with products that you have. Retail match for retailers who have a need to get products that have been returned out into the community in an easy way. And then my area of focus is disaster recovery, where we're certainly busy today keeping an eye on Helene. In the disaster space, just a couple of quick facts. 60% of products donated end up in landfills. That's why we do what we do, to make sure that they're strategically given. And for you, if you're in the funding area, only 5% of giving goes into disaster long-term recovery. 80% of that funding comes in those first few weeks, and nothing much left for long-term. So I always like to share that. I won't go into this because this is what we're going to talk about, but community engagement is an area that we have grown significantly in over the last couple of years. COVID brought on the need for company employees to get together. Goals and metrics were starting to set around there, and we went from 3 events in a year to over 50 this year and probably 75 next year. Here's 2024 at a glance, just in terms of, again, the numbers that are increasing, and this is impact in a numerical way, but we'll talk more about the impacts that are beyond the numbers. This is a subset of the partners that Good 360 works with. We are so proud to have each one of these logos on here, and so many that we couldn't fit on. You'll notice when you see the other slides, there is some overlap, and that'll lead into a conversation about trying different partners, doing different things to kind of mix things up for your volunteers. Michael Price is on assignment. Poor guy's on Maui today doing a kidding event there for United. So we'll miss him today, but I'll be your host and Good 360 guide. On to Clean the World. Madison?
Hi, everyone. My name is Madison. I'm super happy to be here with you guys and excited to share a little bit about Clean the World and our newest brand, CTW Events. So CTW Events is an event management company in its true and true form. We really focus on helping organizations facilitate high impact events that allow them to distribute essential items to communities and networks in need. So this could be things like hygiene kits, backpacks, school supplies, or even food items throughout the community. We've been doing these events since 2012, and really excited to just have significant impact in the space with almost 6 million kits that have been distributed, thousands of hours of participation, thousands of attendees that have participated with us globally, and just over 1,000 charity partners we've been able to support in this time. So we have a couple different experience styles. I'm sure we might mention these during the panel, but kind of the 3-tiered approach, a number of people that are all coming together. We have walkthrough style events that allow for a more flexible pace that can be fit into conferences and trade shows. People can come build kits and be engaged during breaks. And then we do have a virtual model that's been really popular for us over the last few years, especially since COVID, where materials are actually shipped directly to participants' homes, and they're able to participate in building these kits with their families or on Zoom or video calls with their colleagues. We have 4 active programs right now, all a little bit different, but really focus on 4 major pillars. We have our original program, the Soap Saves Lives experience. This is a hygiene kit building experience, super fun and engaging, but also allows for significant impact, especially along disaster relief. We have our Delivering Dignity experience, which is really geared towards supporting those who are experiencing homelessness. our Empowering Education experience, which is our first education-based programming, which really focuses on getting school supplies into the needs of the communities that have a need and have distribution availability for those school supplies, which has been really huge for us. And then just recently this year, we launched our Purposeful Pantry experience, which is, a pantry filling experience where we're able to help support families right where they're at with pantry staple items to help meet the needs of food security. We do have a global approach to this. We are based and headquartered in Orlando, Florida, in the United States, but we have facilities and distribution and event support across the world. So this is going to be throughout North America, Europe, and even in Asia as well. And then I liked what Jim shared about just this year in a glance. So I wanted to share with you guys what we've been doing so far this year. We've had 665 global events through last week with upwards of 800,000 hygiene kits, just less than 2,000 dignity kits, over 130,000 school kits, and just over 45,000 meals.
Wow.
It's been a big year so far. Thank you guys so much. Excited to share more with you guys. Excited to chat with Jim and our other panelists today, and just looking forward to hearing your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison. Now on to canned aid. So again, kind of mixing it up a little bit, and Diana's going to tell you what they bring to the table.
Sure. Thanks so much, Jim. And it's an honor to be here with you and with Madison. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to tell you all a little bit more about who Candate is. Like Jim and Good 360, we are a 501c3. We're relatively new. This is our 11th year operating. And we really do work to provide under-resourced communities across the U.S. to lead healthy, active, and creative lives. And you can see, we're going to obviously talk about a lot of this later, but kind of following the same format of the other panelists. This is kind of just showing what Candate has been able to accomplish since our inception 11 years ago. And we do work with, we in preparation for today's event, we went back and looked over the 11 years, and we've had more than 100 corporate partners, which is really exciting, and the impact has been significant. So this is just a little snapshot of what we've done to date. And again, similar to what Madison was saying, we really have tried to make our programs fun, accessible, engaging, and then obviously impactful. And we have a bit of a hybrid approach where we do public-facing events, and then we also work with corporations for this employee engagement. But the result is the same. It's really just providing these easy and fun, barrier-free ways for people to get involved and make a big impact in their own community. Our little tagline is fueled by people power, and we truly are reliant on employees and the general public to come help implement our programs across the country. We were talking about some different long-term partnerships that we've had over the years where we really have seen it move the needle, not just in terms of impact in communities where we're serving, but with the employees of specific companies themselves. So Journeys was a case study where their employees participated in a number of different Candate programs across the country, and then implemented this type of donate at the register benefiting Candate during the holidays. And I just thought this was a massive success, because the first year that it happened, they convinced 60,000 employees to donate $178,000 to Candate simply by sharing their own experience of working with Candate. So. And again, as Jim said, here's a snapshot of some of the corporations that we've worked with over the years, and there is overlap between Good 360 and probably with Madison and Clean the World as well. And then that's how you can reach us. Thanks so much. Excited to chat more.
And to that point, Diana, we'll be sharing these, making these available later for more detail and contact information. So thank you for that kind of high level intro. We're going to go now into a little more detail through a moderated panel. So there we go. I just want to set the tone for the conversation today, and what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover. Good 360 kind of, again, going back through is our focus on volunteerism is specific to kitting events. We do have partners that nonprofit partners that have events, and we can make connections. But our forte that's growing is in kitting events for hygiene, feminine care, cleanup, and also do it yourself, as Madison said, kind of an evolution that's come on the last couple of years. One thing that's different for us compared to some programs is the use of donated product. So because we get donated products from, let's say, United amenity kits that have appropriate products for hygiene, or Bombas socks, a favorite, that goes into our kits, and that saves costs, and also enhances the integrity of the kit. For Clean the World, I mean, you saw the numbers and you've seen the impact. You probably know about them already. They're a leader and seen as a leader in the hygiene space, on-site kitting, do-it-yourself kitting, globally. So that adding that aspect of it's not just US focused is really something to keep in mind. And then also easy to scale. And then for Canned Aid, just kind of bringing in the brainstorming outside of the box, bike bills, skateboard bills, mural painting, musical instruments, programs you probably wouldn't even have thought of, and they are realistically accessible for you to bring in for your volunteers. There's lots and lots of options out there. At ACCP, we saw Undies for Everyone. They're a fantastic program. Impact for Good was there. Hero Box, Kaboom, Feeding America has programs. There are a lot of options for these, so we don't pretend that we are the only options. We just hope that it gets some thought going about trying something new, and thinking about what you're doing in a more strategic way. As I said, variety is the spice of life, and that's true for volunteerism. And trying to mix and match, I think, is going to be useful for your program to keep attention. This session will not touch on skilled and unskilled volunteer programs for partners like Taproot, Common Impact, Points of Light, Bloomerang, ServiceNow. There's a lot out there that fall in that line of skilled volunteerism. We're actually in a program with Taproot right now with Goose Hamilton, and they're wonderful for that aspect. We're not going to cover that, but that's another form of volunteerism, obviously, to keep in mind. And then also just the last plug for local. Look at your community partners. There's probably something that you can do there with a local Habitat for Humanity, with United Way. St. Vincent de Paul has great programs. And just a tease here, a huge opportunity coming for everybody with a program around Keep America Beautiful, KAB. Next year, stay tuned for that. We're plugged in for that, and we'll be sharing more information, but that's going to be a huge volunteerism opportunity. And then lastly, platforms. So Volunteer Hub, Volunteer Match, even Benevity, Your Cause, they have ways that you can track and plan around volunteerism. So with all the caveats of what we're not going to talk about, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to go just do a little round robin, but Madison and Diana, like we did the other day, feel free to jump in if you left something out and you want to add it in. We're going to cover what we think are the key questions that we've heard, and also some advice on how to approach these. So first off, Diana, what does a company need to share with you to be able to develop a great, impactful program? What's important for you to know?
The date, the size of the group, their budget, and the location. But we really can operate anywhere within the US. And most of our programs could be implemented within 90 minutes. 2 hours is kind of the sweet spot for us, but we can customize any of our programs for the needs of the corporate partner.
What about goals? What do you need to find out about them, about what they want to accomplish?
So we have really, again, customized these things based on feedback from corporate partners. So if they're looking for team building primarily, if they want a bit of competition, if they want to try to get different departments together, we can accommodate all of those needs. So understanding, one, what their internal goals are, and two, do they want to be part of the actual impact? Because all of our programs have an assembly element where we can invite the corporate partners who helped build the bikes, skateboards, ukuleles, etc., join us at the assembly the next day. So if that's important, we can, make arrangements for that, or we can actually capture video content to share if they don't have the flexibility to go offsite and join us at an assembly.
Excellent. I'll put a plug in for your website now. It's got a lot of information that kind of helps focus the questions and understand what you might need. So encourage people to check that out. And we'll remind you of the spelling of that a little later. Madison, so Clean the World, what do you need to know when you're in those planning stages from your partners to make sure it's an impactful event?
Yeah, I think I highlight everything Diana mentioned. All of those are really important pieces, I think probably across the board, including for Good 360. For us, it's also helpful to know what kind of pillar of impact they're looking for. With different corporations, they have different desires to meet their corporate pillars and their CSR goals. So that's always helpful because of our different programming. It kind of meets a different need per partner. And then, of course, the broad strokes, right? How many people, where do you want to do it? For us, it's really important to know the location. With a global reach, there's, obviously different complexities about doing an event in Japan versus Chicago or something like that. So always good to know those details up front. And then, our team can be flexible with building out a program that makes the most sense for that corporate partner based on the pillars and based on the impact that they're looking for.
Great. I'll do yes and for Good 360. So all of those, of course, a general sense of budget, which we'll work into with the numbers, as Madison said, for our side of kitting. It is about the numbers. How many people, how long, how many kits do you want? What's the goal? I'll also add that for Good 360, what Michael tries to do is understand exactly what he's walking into. So he wants to get a floor plan of the room, wants to know kind of what expectations are of flow of people. Are they walking through? Are they staying for a while? Is it during lunchtime? Just to get a sense of what's happening so that he can prepare what he brings and how he sets up. We'll do a run of show ahead of time after a couple meetings with the partner so that they can get a sense of what it's going to look like, what their role is, who's doing what, and really take all the nervousness away because everything's going to be assigned. We all know what's going to happen when we get there. That goes for the other two groups as well. But I just thought I'd mention that it's all about upfront planning. Nobody just shows up. We really have to make sure that we're in line. We know where we're going. When we're coming. When's the product getting here? All those things, the logistics parts, we take care of. And that's part of that easy button for these programs. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to tell us what we need to know. So Madison, you mentioned the DIY aspect. So how portable are Clean the World programs?
Yeah, so it really depends on our partners. We can be as involved or not involved as they want us to be. But we even have developed recently a technology where it allows, consumers to go online and literally register for an event that they can do at their home, at their place of work, at their place of worship, whatever that might look like, they can do that. And then we've also taken that same format and applied it across the board to our corporate partners as well to have really dialed in opportunities for them to just literally go online, register for an event. They can pick their impact, they can pick their date, they can pick their number of volunteers. And we have, a little calculator built in to kind of give them the suggested amount of what they would need for their activity. And then of course, like I said, we can be as involved or not as they would like us to be. So if it's a white glove, really turnkey, our team can literally receive the product on site and ship the product out afterwards. Or if it's something that they just need us to provide them a shipping label and tell them how to do it, we could do that as well.
Again, yes, and so likewise for Good 360. So we just try to make it easy, right? So for the do-it-yourself, sending everything to where it's going, taking care of the shipping part, which can be confusing, making sure that all the pieces and parts are there that are going to be needed. So pretty portable. Madison, you're all over the world, so the map kind of showed it. But when you started listing off countries like Singapore and others, I just want to restate, and you can, some of the countries that you're working in. So it's, again, that global
Yeah.
aspect of what you do.
Yeah, so we're, like I said, based in the US, but we also have a presence in Europe and Asia. So we can support United States, Canada, the UK, European Union, Singapore, Macau, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan. And we're constantly expanding where our partners need us to be. So we're doing research and development of what it looks like to be in South America and in the Middle
Yeah.
East. So lots of opportunity there. We know that our partners are not just in one location. So we try to make that experience accessible across the board. And that's been, a really huge growth opportunity with us and with our corporate partners, being able to say, hey, I've got a basis of employees that are in multiple countries. What does that look like? And really making it easy for them to say they can do the same or similar experiences across all of their markets, which are key to them. And, they don't have to worry about any of those, logistics pieces and things like you mentioned. It's all taken care of.
Yeah, it sounds too complicated unless you have a partner like Clean the World. So, and Good 360 similarly, except that we're going to focus all of our attention on Hawaii Islands at this point. So that's the only place we're going to work. Not true. Diana, how portable are your programs? They are a little more complicated in terms of pieces and parts.
They are a bit more complicated, but they're extremely portable within the United States. We haven't ventured out outside of the US yet, but we really, two things that you guys touched on. One was that local piece when you mentioned like working locally. I think that's one of the things that makes Candade nice, and probably both of you all do this as well. But if we have a corporate partner in Milwaukee and they already have an established relationship with the Boys and Girls Club there, or a school district that they really want to support, we can do that. So we can come on site, can take care of all of the logistics 100%, or we can work with the partner to make sure that the recipient is somebody that they already care about or have invested in. And then the other thing that you mentioned, Madison, was sort of this trying to evolve and respond to those changing needs of our partners and of communities. We internally call what we're doing this sort of entrepreneurial philanthropy, where we really are like, okay, well, what's the need? How do we pivot? How can we help here? And some things work and some things don't, but we really do try to look at it through this entrepreneurial lens so that we are meeting the needs of our existing corporate partners and hopefully attracting new ones. And as Jim mentioned, we have just recently updated our website that talks about different ways that corporations can work with us. And we have added a DIY entry level as well, because we're trying to be as accessible as possible.
It's
Terrific.
huge.
Yeah, just want to hammer, it really is. Want to hammer home the point that has been made by the others and is true for Good 360, which is we want to do what you want to do. So, and I'm sure that this is true for other volunteerism groups. We're not going to tell you where the product is going to go unless you don't have a partner. We're happy to. We have Good 360 has a network. Madison has networks of nonprofit partners, including Good 360. So we work together and we find out where that need is. But if you've already got partners in your market areas around your manufacturing or headquarters sites, we'll work with them. Let's just help you amplify the work that you're doing in a little easier. So Madison, tell us a little bit about your team. What are the pieces and parts there, just so folks can picture what Clean the World is?
Yeah, so underneath the Clean the World brand, we have specifically the team that supports our events. So CTW Events team is really compiled of 3 categories. We have our partnerships team. That's one of the teams that report into me, and we really focus on making sure that our partners have accessibility, have understanding, have quotes, proposals, details. They're the ones that know all of the pre-planning logistics that are needed to get ahead, and they're actually where the easy starts, right? It's right with that team, the partnerships team. We also have 2 other teams that work underneath myself and the team that I work with. And so we have an event management team. So very similarly to what you mentioned at the beginning, Jim, where we have an event manager that can be as involved or not as you guys from a corporate perspective would like them to be. They're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that invoices arrive and you have tracking information and you know how to set up and facilitate your build if we're not on site, or when our team's going to be on site if we are. And so they're really kind kind of that in-between piece. And then last, but certainly not least, I would say arguably some of the most important pieces is our on-site team. And those are our event leads and logistics leads that are really there to help walk the client through the process. Like I mentioned, some of our events we don't staff, and that's something we can equip the team on site to be self-sufficient in. But if you do have someone from CTW Events on site, they're able to help you with all of the miscellaneous things that happen on an event that, got to pivot, got to change, got to adapt, and, really help to make sure that that flow feels smoothly, and that, we're often working with really small teams that are managing really large employee bases. And how can we extend your arms to reach more, do more, and make it as easy as possible?
Super well said. Diana, how about you? Can you describe your team makeup and kind of what the focus is?
Absolutely. We are a very small team. Currently, we're all women. There's 6 full-time employees. So it is typical of most nonprofits. We all wear a lot of hats, but essentially we also have 3 departments. One would be the administrative side of things, the invoicing, the ordering. 2, we have our engagement communications team that are not only working with corporate partners, but also telling the world about the work that we're doing, because we are sort of this hybrid corporate employee engagement and a public nonprofit. So we use that engagement team to do both. And then most importantly would be our program team, who not only handle all the logistics, they're the ones on site, and they're constantly seeking feedback from both public volunteers and corporate partners to understand how we need to improve our or tweak and change our programs specifically to respond to what those needs look like.
That's a really good point. I think for each of us, we could say something along the same lines of evolution. We listen to our partners. GAF has been a great partner for us. Madison, we worked together with them on some early programs, but we've evolved. They've thrown some ideas. We tried them all. Some of them worked, some of them not as good as the others from a functionality standpoint. So we evolve and learn, and also the needs. Hygiene kits are great. They're always going to be needed, but there's even shapes and sizes to hygiene kits. There's the overnight version. There's the longer stay version with more full-size products. There's a feminine care need in domestic violence shelters and other shelters where women are there and transgender. So there's a lot of need for product evolution. We're trying to focus on cleanup. So in our area in disaster recovery, we know that mold remediation is going to be a factor with Helene. When Helene leaves, there's going to be a lot of flooding and water damage and mold. So that's something we're listening to in terms of trying to evolve to meet the needs of the nonprofits, but also the need of the corporate partner. So what makes your program the easy button solution, Diana? What would you say is easy about it?
Honestly, everything is easy. I think that because our team is so good at the logistics and the communication piece, as long as we know the date, the size, the location, we really will handle everything. It's completely turnkey. And even those DIY, ones, if that's the route the company wants to go. And it's really fun. I think that's the surprising part about it. Sometimes at these corporate offsites where you're like, now we have to go, maybe the mentality is now we have to go do this thing and give back. But it is really awesome to see the people that come in and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And after 90 minutes, there's 200 bicycles or skateboards or ukuleles, and the people have had a lot of fun. The communication is different, the energy. So again, from the time someone says yes, go, our team will handle everything. And we're also happy to have it more collaborative if that's better for the folks that we're working with.
Great point. Yeah, we're going to dig into a little more of the look and feel in a second. So thanks for setting that up. And just to tease, we are going to get into costs and how those budgets need to be made, and also around metrics. So I know there's a couple of questions in the chat. But Madison, what makes your program turnkey, easy button?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to how CTW events can make a program programs are. I mean, even if it's a small group or a group of 10,000, we really set it up so that it can be shipped in, set up, facilitated in the easiest way possible, even down to the way that we ship the products. They're already pre-positioned and pre-counted into the amount of materials you need per assembly line or per station. So a really easy program from all the way from ordering and logistics all the way through to the event execution. But, I think the easiest part about probably what all three of our organizations do is we take what a small team of employee engagement or communications folks are already doing and really help them meet the needs of a large employee base. And that's the easy part, right? It's, if they had to go through and find the parts to build a bike, that would make it really tough. And if they had to go find the parts to build, pantry boxes or backpacks with school supplies, I mean, that can be a really tough process. And so our team can, really button that all up into one easy process, right?
Love it. Yeah, I'm gonna have a new slogan. We find the parts and the partners. What do you think?
Yeah, I love
like
it.
Yeah, I was thinking. So we've talked to Diana. You started to head us into this path of what does it look like. I think your programs may be the hardest to visualize. Can you just kind of paint us a picture of what they look and sound like? And then we'll talk about impact in a sec.
Sure. The bike and skateboard builds are similar in that when, the employees show up, whether in an all sales meeting or wherever, we can do it offsite or at a big conference center, wherever the client would like. But when they show up, everything is there for them. So there are instructions, there are tools, there are the bike parts. We've got our team on site to help them. I think sometimes if you're not real handy and you're in an office setting most of the time, the thought of assembling a skateboard or assembling a bicycle feels really daunting. So we make that we take all of the fear out of it. We show you, and as I said, you can make it competitive if people want to pit departments against each other or have the fastest team building, et cetera. So we can do all of that. The ukuleles is our newest program, and it's really fun. We also do an art kitting event. But both of those, it really switches something in the brain when adults get together in a room and start to be creative. Same with the murals. It really does tap into a different side of your brain. And so the energy in the room really changes when people are sitting and being creative. I just participated in a ukulele build last weekend, and watching adults who really hadn't been told to go color or be creative in a while was really fascinating and so fun. So that all feels really great. And then again, as I said, at the end, all of those items are lined up and you can see the immediate results of your labor, and then they're invited the next day to join us at the assembly. So they see the people that are being impacted by their efforts, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Madison, what's a clean the world event look like and sound like?
Yeah, so it really depends. I know that's always the age-old answer, right? It's like, how do you want it to look like? So we have a couple of different models and we can kind of fit most things into those models. So number one being that breakout style. This can be an assembly line. This can be, team building. This is where we can get competitive. Like that's that breakout style event, everybody at one time in one room. Music, MC, like dancing, celebrations. We can bring noisemakers. I mean, really, you name it. Those are really great for conferences and highly produced events and things like that. It's a really great way to engage not only employees, but even customers of your organization. So there's that. There's also a walkthrough model, which look a little bit different, feels a little bit different. That's, stop by this assembly line and pack a kit, write a note, think about the family that's going to be impacted by the materials that you're building. And it's, before breakfast, after lunch, during breaks. It's a flow style. So it can be done, in a less time intensive commitment to giving back. And then, I think lastly, it's that virtual piece, right? It's, what does that look like for your company? Are you guys virtual? Are you hybrid? What does that look like? And we'll send all the materials directly on site or to the employee's home. Virtual calls like this are really great. And we've even had it where, the corporation will encourage the family to build with, your household members. take pictures, take video, and then they'll put a nice collaboration, video together of all of the families doing all of the things across the country or across the world, and really, really unique ways of getting people together. And so, take that and you can apply it almost across any type of team, any type of engagement, and make it a little bit more specific to the corporate's culture or look and feel.
Mhm. Yeah, good point. And kind of going back to that planning stage, a lot of the decision making around what that will look like depends on what's wanted. And one of those key pieces is how big is the room or rooms,
Right.
and how many people are going to fit in there. So the walkthrough is the standard, I would say, in kitting events because it's efficient. It's a production line, right? And especially when we come there and we've got everything timed out, boxed out. But that little bit of differentiation, if you've got the room and the time to do separate tables. Madison, remember at that GIF event, I'm going back to that, but there was, we didn't give them a lot of rules because they were at tables and they got super creative and competitive. It was fun to watch. So for our programs, what Michael does is he does have a kitometer. So he's got basically a thermometer, and as kits are being pulled together, we kind of go up. We know what the goal is. Of course, there's some cheers going on during that, but also Michael's got a playlist that people ask for after we're done. Like, can I have that music playlist? Because people are dancing and singing in line. It's a lot of fun. So I think in all these cases, the goal is to have a really pleasant experience, if not something actually memorable. So let's get real around costs. I'll go first. So for Good 360, what we try to do is take into account all of our direct costs. Again, we're a nonprofit, so we're not trying to make money. We do want to make sure we cover our costs. So we look at things like, are we going to have to fly staff there to facilitate the event? Do we have to procure some of the product that isn't donated, or is there procurement involved? Is there anything else involved in terms of shipping or other aspects? And we build all of that in. What we've done is come up with an average for kits. Right now, that average cost is around $12 to $15, depending on the type of kit that's being put together. And that can lower depending on other factors, and it can actually increase depending on how difficult that situation is or how specific the items in the kits are going to be. So for us, it's then a matter of the math. How long, how many people, we figure out how many kits will be created in that time frame as an estimate, and that would become a grant proposal for our partners to look at to say, we need you to cover these costs for us, and then everything else happens. So again, $12 to $15 per kit times the number of kits being projected. Our programs end up being around $10,000 to $20,000 programs. There can be smaller levels for sure for smaller groups, and of course bigger. To this point, I don't know how this compares to you, Madison. This isn't a competition with you for sure, but United put together 6,000 kits in one event, which was our record at this point. Super. The CEO was there to actually see it. It was a great volunteerism event overall, but we had to have those costs covered.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty similar, right? I mean, our hygiene kits and our kind of basic kits start somewhere around $6 to $6.25 per kit. And, it depends on which kit you're getting, right? So our food meals are on that same range around the $6 to $7 mark. Our backpacks with the school supplies are around the $30 mark. And then same with the dignity kits with the comfort and hygiene items inside of a backpack, also somewhere around that $30 mark. Our pricing is pretty consistent across our regions. Some regions like in Asia they're a cheaper kit, so they're a little bit closer to that $3 or $4 mark, but they have higher minimums. And then in Canada, it's a little bit of a higher price point, upwards of that 13 Canadian dollars per kit, but have lower minimums. So there's some fluctuation there. I always tell our partners, if you have a budget, we can give you something that's going to work within that budget. It's just a matter of, what's the flexible piece there? Is it the length of time? Is it the number of volunteers? Is it the type of kit? And then we can, customize that proposal to be exactly what our partners are looking for. But it really just depends on kind of what those hard costs are. And like you said, Jim, I mean, there are hard costs, right? We don't have as much of the donated materials. So all of ours is procured. So we're buying in the, millions of products every year from partners and getting it to where it needs to be. And so we've gotten some really great relationships that have allowed us to keep our prices really low. But I would say our average cost per experience is going to be anywhere from, maybe 5 to 15. And then if it's a global or, multinational experience, it can be, it depends on the size, right? It could be $100,000 if you're trying to get 15 different sites around the globe involved, or more. It just really depends. And I think the scope and the scale and ultimately the leadership buy-in, right? And that's what it comes down to, is where do you want to put your dollars for these types of things? How does that engagement meet the pillars of the, your corporate CSR, SDG, and ESG goals? How do we help support that, and then do it all while making it easy? And yeah, so I think 6,000 kits is an incredible engagement opportunity. We've have some experiences that are that size, some that are a bit bigger, and I think it just depends on the partner, right? Amazon's got a 1.5 million employees, or just shy of that. They can do 100,000 hygiene kits at their Seattle office in a day and a half. And that's just the way that it works. But there's a lot of flexibility there. We understand the needs of our partners. They're not always the Fortune 500. Sometimes it's the mom and pop business, and how do we meet them where they're at to get them involved in corporate engagement and corporate volunteerism in a way that's easy, meets their budgets, and ultimately helps to support the families and the communities that we serve around the globe.
Yeah, to that point, the next question we'll talk about impact and reporting. But Diane, I want to ask you, because I think, is it safe to say your programs are a little more intimate, and kind of built around an exact program, very specific? So how do you go about pricing?
So we have a minimum, minimum number of units. So if somebody wanted to do a bike build in a specific community, we start at you need to commit to 60 bikes. And so then from there, if they go above 100, there's some economies of scale where, it's kind of like both of you were saying, if we have our baseline, which covers our costs of our staff. If they get beyond that and we have to add more U-Hauls to transport the finished items, if we need to add more staff because we're now facilitating 500 employees, then, the prices fluctuate. But with the DIYs, we do have ways for small companies to, get involved with Candate and make an impact with as low as, like, I think $2,000, you could do a program. So again, $2,000 all the way up to several $100,000 if they're trying to do things throughout the entire year or with multiple employees. One thing that's a little bit off topic, but that I was thinking about was we have a couple of corporate partners that are maybe small with their number of employees in certain areas, but they're growing. And so they want to essentially sponsor some of these builds. So then their name is all over it. The media talks about how great this company is, but the general public's invited to actually do the hands-on work. So that's been a really successful model as well, which is a little bit different.
Very cool.
I love that.
We only have a couple minutes left. And I know we had a question in the chat, which is exactly the question we were going to pose, which is impacts and measurement. So just kind of high level, and again, we can follow up with partners. I'll go first in terms of Good 360. We do provide, obviously, the metrics that we work out together. How many kits are created? That's an easy one. The impact also goes to who the partner is and what their mission is and what they're doing in the field. And then also just in terms of any other metrics that we have in the event itself, how many employees, that may feed back to programs and metrics that are internal to the organization. Madison, I don't know if you have any others that you do.
Yeah, I think, we kind of measure impact on both sides, right? It's the impact of the outcome of the kits and where they're going. Our team provides impact. We call them gratitude reports after the end of every event, where we can share our thanks and the charity partners' thanks with the corporate partner, really giving them those statistics around the impact that they've made for that particular event. We do, annual reports that are client specific, and then obviously, CTW event specific. And then the other side of the impact that we measure is also the impact to the employee base. And I think that's a important piece for what we do, is because we know that, yes, we're helping to support the community. Yes, there's an intrinsic impact that's provided by building kits or packing, or whatever that looks like. But we also know that there's a value add to the corporation to have happy employees that know that they're really making an impact.
Yeah, great point. That's side by side, all levels of management and departments. I didn't mention, we obviously, but maybe it needs to be said, we provide photos of the event. We have our own internal photographers. Sometimes we have professionals. We can do video if that's required. And I think Clean the World does the same. So anything that's required from assets, we can definitely provide that. We provide a follow-up report for each event that says all of the things that we're talking about, has links to photos and all of that. And one more, I didn't mention MAP International. So folks that are working in the medical space or humanitarian, MAP International also creates kits that are focused on that type of work. They do incredible reporting, and sometimes Good 360 product ends up in those reports, and they say that your kits went to 26 different countries. So there is a lot of really beneficial, impactful reporting that can come out. Diana, how about you? What do you have in terms of assets and metrics and reporting?
Really, we do all of the same things that you're saying. We follow up typically the day after the event with images of employees building the items, high-fiving each other, having fun. And then we do the same with images of the children that are receiving the items. Oftentimes we'll get thank you notes from the schools, and we'll scan and put those into our customized impact reports that we share with the company afterwards. And it really, it's incredible. Really, I can't say enough about, if you can get some of the people that built the items to come to the donation, that's really magical. But we do our best to try to share that through video and photos as well.
That's a great point. There's nothing like being there, right? Because that's the real impact for the folks there. They actually get to touch something and do something specific with their own hands. I did left out one part from Madison, which is the sustainability aspect, because you actually make soap that's included in your kits. So something else that's a plus for Clean the World is that you need sustainability stories. It's a wonderful one. I've been there, I've seen the soap being made. So that's pretty cool. Jean, looks like we're ready to hand off to you.
We are. We've unfortunately run out of time in this great conversation. So I'd like to thank the three of you for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. I know that our participants found it a valuable conversation. I'd like to thank our participants for joining us today. I will say we very much value your feedback. And so I know my colleague dropped in a link to a very short survey, and there's a QR code on the screen. So please take our very, very short session survey before you log off. And with that, I remind you that we have 2 CSR Marketplace virtual sessions left this afternoon. You can still register for them on our website. We will be posting the recordings for all of them on our website next week, and we'll be sending out an email about that too. So with that, thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you
So
everyone.
much.
Thanks, ACP.
Take care.